Welcome back. Dave Pele, Jeff Dotseth. It's the Dave and Jeff Show. San Diego sports leader, XX1090.
Dave, if there's one thing I love, it's the fights. And I took a year off, actually about a year and a half, from Sports Talk Radio to go work in MMA, and I had an absolute blast. The people I met in that sport will be friends for life, including my pal, the fight professor, Stephen Quadros. And Stephen and I used to do a show on satellite radio. We did an MMA show every week, and about a year ago, we had our next guest on the show, and she was fighting in Strikeforce. Her name is Ronda Rousey. She's on Twitter, at Ronda Rousey, RondaRousey. You will see her Saturday night at the Valley View Casino Center as she defends her Strikeforce Women's Championship against former champ Sarah Kaufman. And Ronda, I remember at that time, we were talking in MMA, people were starting to pay attention to you, and you were becoming the next big thing. And I was telling Dave, for guys that have seen them play Jersey Boys about Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, there's a very funny line in there where a guy said, all of a sudden I wrote a song and our whole world exploded. Place went crazy and they were a national hit. For you, in the last year, if you look back, what was the one moment where all of a sudden things went from here to here on the popularity scale?
Well, I mean, it's definitely after I beat Misha for the title, but I didn't really realize it. I kind of kept myself away from everything right away. I right after the fight, I just kind of went and saw all my friends, my family, and I just kind of isolated myself from everything. And then it's when the Strikeforce and UFC guys got a hold of me again, and then they just started sending me from city to city to city. I think it was for a whole month. I didn't spend more than 3 or 4 days in one town, and they were like, okay, go ring the stock market bell and go to this thing, go to this thing.
Gosh.
And I was literally getting mobbed at some of these places that I went. And it was funny. It was usually the chicks that I would see some girl go, oh my God, Ronda! And they would run, they would sprint at me like a 28 days later zombie and just grab me. I'm like, oh my God, hi, what's up? I didn't really, I used to say, oh man, I wish people would react to me like my dog does when I walk in the door and be that stoked to see me. But now sometimes it really is like that. I'm like, maybe this is a little much. But no, it's actually really cool. I appreciated everything. But yeah, it was definitely very shocking at first.
Can you go back to when you first decided this was something you wanted to pursue? I mean, as far as what went through your mind of saying, you know what, this is a sport I want to pursue?
After the last Olympics, I just knew I didn't want to do judo anymore, and I didn't know what else to do with myself because it's the only really skill that I had. And so I was bartending for a year. I was like, I'm going to be normal and have normal people friends and do the 9 to 5 thing. And then after a while, I was like, okay, I'm going to turn into an alcoholic at this rate. I should probably go do something productive with myself. And I was thinking maybe I could be a rescue swimmer for the Coast Guard. That'd be cool, jump out of helicopters and all that stuff. But then I would have to move all the time, military stuff. And I just kind of am spoiled and wanted to do whatever I wanted all the time. So I was like, okay, maybe if I do this MMA thing, maybe it'll just all work out and I'll just be able to, make my own schedule and do my own thing. So I gave that a try. And I think 2 years ago was when I had my first amateur fight. And a year ago was when I had my first pro fight. And here we are now. It's craziness. It all happened fast.
Ronda Rousey, the champion, will defend her belt Saturday night at the Valley View Casino Center. We would love to see you out there, man. The Strikeforce events are fun, and the card is loaded from top to bottom. Ronda, the one thing I like about your game is the confidence, and you're not afraid to talk, and it's a different aspect of women's MMA that we haven't seen before. You talked about the fight where you won the belt from Misha Tate, and there was genuine animosity like you see with Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva. It became a fight where you said, man, I want to see this. How much do you like that, and how much do you use that to get into your opponent's head?
I kind of do it more on a case-by-case basis, With Misha, I felt like it was the best way to approach the fight with her, and it was the best way to promote the fight with Sarah, I don't think that that same strategy would work so well, so I haven't really been pushing it. And people think oh, I'm so terrible because I talk about how awesome I am all the time or something like that. It's not like that. It's just that if someone was trying to kill you every couple of months, you really don't want anyone to think that your confidence wavers in the slightest little bit. If I show the slightest little bit of self-doubt, then they'll have reason to doubt me. So I'm not going to show anything like that. And people ask me, hey, do you think you're the best in the world? I'll be like, hell yeah, I think I do. Look at my belt. I've worked really hard my entire life, and I really think that I'm the best. And if anybody thinks that I'm not, then they are welcome to challenge me for it, and I'm welcome to beat them down and convince them that I'm right.
Now, when you step in and it's ready to go as far as a fight, do you hate that opponent? I mean, straight out just hate him, or is it one of those where it's just played up for the camera?
No, I'm just completely emotionless when I'm fighting, and it doesn't really matter to me. I don't need to hate the person. I don't need to be on okay terms with them. It's just I'm completely separate from the outside world when I'm in there. So I think that's one of the good parts of being able to fight for so many years is I fought girls I like, I fight girls I hate, I fought girls I am completely apathetic towards. You know, it doesn't really matter. I've already been there and done that against so many chicks that it's just like whatever. When I'm in there, I don't think about, oh, is the girl going to be okay or something like that. It's just like I'm not even have any emotion at all.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. We're talking to Ronda Rousey, the Strikeforce Women's Champion in action Saturday night, Valley View Casino Center. Tickets available right now at Ticketmaster. When I think of women's MMA, Ronda, and where it's been, I think it started in my eyes with Gina Carano, brought a lot of popularity to the sport. Then she was defeated by Chris Santos, who they call a Cyborg, trains out of San Diego. And we saw Cyborg now on the bench because she failed a PED test. But then it's to you. And the one thing that people are looking at is a potential showdown with Chris Santos and yourself. She's 145, you're 135. But there is no doubt that you are in her head and she wants that fight. Do you want that fight as well? And if so, at what weight?
Of course I want that fight. It's been my goal since the very beginning when I first started. But I would want to have that fight at 135, you know? Yeah. That's the weight that I feel best at. And you know what? That girl's been cheating for so many years. You know, there's so many times she's coming at 145 and been way heavy, or, you know, she's been doing steroids and all this stuff. Like, you know what? Why don't you come down to 135, have a fair fight for once in your life, and then we'll see if that dominance of mystique that she had before is at least a bit accurate.
Awesome.
Ronda, what's your training schedule like? What do you do to train?
I train like 2 or 3 times a day. It's from like wrestling to striking to judo to jiu-jitsu, strength conditioning. I do different stuff all the time. And the thing I hated about judo is just the same training all the time. So sometimes my strength conditioning, I'll drive up to Malibu and like sprint up sand dune hills and do skimboarding or something like that. And then other times I'll be, in the gym. Other times I'll be running upstairs and, I'll go to different clubs all over LA every single day so it's always a tricky question for me because it's nothing regimented. It's always how I feel that day. Like, do I feel like I have enough wrestling? Do I feel like I have enough grappling? And then I'll change it around to whatever I feel like.
Well, right now, as we're 72 hours away from fight day, what's the most important thing to you once we're able to get you off the radio station promoting the fight? As you work down to Friday night, the weigh-in, Saturday fight day, what's the most important thing?
I just want to be able to make weight and feel good. I don't really dehydrate that much at all. I want to rest, and all the hard work's done. If you're trying to rush in to get this training in this late in the game, then you screwed up somewhere along the line. So I'm just trying to actually relax and chill out and drink my coffee, and it's all good.
Is it a misconception that your game is all about the armbar? I mean, the armbar that you've used is absolutely devastating and fun to watch, but is it a misconception when you hear that?
Yeah, but it's good that it's the only part of my game that people have seen,
Yeah.
It kind of leaves everything to be a little mystery everywhere else. And what happened when I was doing judo was I started catching everybody with arm bars, and then everyone was so conscious and aware of it that I started getting everybody in pins all the time because they were defending the other things so much and made everything else easier. So now that everyone's so paranoid and like thinking about the armbar all the time, sometimes it kind of makes it easier because they're already obsessing over it, and so I kind of know what their reactions are going to be more. And then also if someone's so like vehemently defending against something, it opens up everything else. If someone's so scared of the takedown, they're easier to strike against. It's that kind of stuff.
Pele, I'm going to show you a picture. That is Misha Tate in the orange. That is Ronda taking her arm for the arm bar, which eventually led to Misha Tate saying, "I am out of here." What's the matter?
I had to turn away.
Oh, queasy guy. That arm bar, if you are going out there Saturday night, it is incredible. Ronda is on Twitter, at Ronda Rousey. She is the women's 135 champion for Strikeforce. Ronda, continued success. Thanks for coming by. We know how busy Fight Week is. It's going to be a fun night. We'll look forward to seeing the fights on Saturday.
Thank you for having me. You guys are fun. All right.